Hello, everybody. It's great to be here today with Marsha Thompson, soprano, and Kevin Short, bass baritone. We're so lucky at the Mid-Atlantic Symphony that this next April we're going to welcome both of them in both the Porgy and Bess concert suite in the arrangement of Robert Russell Bennett, as well as the Summer of 1915, Knoxville Summer of 1915 by Samuel Barber that Marsha will be singing. So, my first experience with Porgy and Bess was conducting it with the Morgan State Choir and at Morgan State University with the Mid-Atlantic Symphony. And at that time, Porgy was Kevin Short, and little did I know how lucky I was to have such an amazing Porgy. I was just discovering the opera. But both Kevin and Marsha have sung the role many, many times. And Kevin just recently sung the title role at the Metropolitan Opera. So I'm going to ask them both their experience with the opera. Kevin, what's your relationship to this piece? It's obviously an intimate one.
I became acquainted with Porgy and Bess as a student at Morgan, 1983. I sang in the choir. It was a Baltimore opera production, and I think it was the production that solidified my wanting to become an opera singer. As a grad student at Curtis in 1986, I sang the role of Jake for the first time. And so I've had a lifelong, I should say, an adulthood experience with the opera. When I went to Curtis, one of the voice teachers there was Todd Duncan, the original Porgy. So I would pick his brain, and Sylvia Olden Lee was there. I also had occasion to speak with Eva Jesse, who was the original choir director of Porgy with Gershwin. And she also was a choir director at Morgan in 1919. So I had a lot of really good influences and a very good start.
Fantastic. And so when I talk to you, Kevin, of who would be sort of the ideal Besses that you would like to see sing it with us, one of the ones you mention very frequently is Marsha Thompson. So I'm going to ask Marsha, I know you've sang not only the suite, but the opera as well. And you've sung the suite, I know, multiple times with Kevin. So tell us about your relationship with the piece.
Well, my relationship with the piece, first of all, thank you for inviting me to join you.
Of course, it's great
concert.
to have you.
I'm so excited. I love singing the Porgy and Bess suite, and I'm so excited about the Knoxville Summer of 1915 because I've always wanted to sing that with orchestra as well. I love Samuel Barber. But back to the Gershwin, my first experience with Porgy and Bess was at the University of Houston. I was a young student and I sang the Summertime. It was my first time singing the suite. I sang Summertime, and Debria Brown, who was a very well-known Mariah throughout the United States and Europe, Debria Brown sang the other arias, the other female arias in the suite. And then we were so lucky because she had a very close relationship with William Warfield. And the university invited William Warfield down to join in the concert with us. So that was my first time meeting William Warfield. And it was also my first exposure to Porgy and Bess. So that was sort of a very epic experience for me as a young singer. And then once I moved to New York City, I was immediately cast in the role as Bess with New York City Opera. And so I sang it with them, and then I also sang it with Opera Carolina. So I haven't done the actual production that many times, which is fine with me. I love the production, but I also love doing the suite in concert because I love concert work. So that's my relationship with the piece. So to be able to do this again with Kevin and with you, it's going to be a lot of fun.
I think it's going to be great, and we're going to be working as well with the wonderful Carter Legacy Singers, which are really
Yeah.
one of the, there are many great courses in Maryland and the Morgan State Choir, and definitely Carter Legacy Singer is one of them. As some of our audience may not know, you are singing parts from several roles, each of you. But let's start with you, Marsha. You are singing parts from Clara, from Bess, from Serena. Tell us about the vocal challenges of going from one part to the next.
That's a very good question. The way I think about every role, everything that I sing is just to sing everything very lyrically, and then to use the text to really get the vocal dramatic aspect of the role across. So I do that in the same way with Porgy and Bess. You can sing Clara very lyrically, and in the suite, the Summertime is actually in the lower key. I like it in both keys. I like it in the lower key and the high key. So it depends on what you decide to do, Maestro, when we do it next year.
We can do whatever is more comfortable.
Okay.
But not every soprano can sing both. Summertime in the high key, and then Serena's My Man's Gone Now. So tell us about like the vocal, the vocal challenge of having both these in the same half of a concert.
Well, I think the challenge for Serena, for me, is to make sure that it's not too slow for me. I like a sort of a brisk, sort of marching tempo for that aria, and as long as the tempo is not too slow, I can manage pretty well. because the orchestration is big. It's a very dense orchestration. Lots of horns, and so you just need to make sure it's very it's big Verdi Wagner in a way. Yeah. So, and it's good that I've had a lot of experience singing Verdi because I love singing with orchestra and big horns. So in that moment, I just think about sort of riding the orchestra in that moment and singing very lyrically, but using the breath of the body, the breath with the DTH breath.
The breath. Yes.
The breath of the body. Yeah, to really stretch out and sustain the big lyric lines that are necessary for the role of Serena and for specifically that aria.
Julian, I would like to trumpet this young lady's horn and tell you why. Okay. The reason I've mentioned Marsha is because obviously you just mentioned the challenge of doing the Robert Russell Bennett version. The soprano has to wear a few different hats. Marsha is a Verdian. She's a Verdian soprano that has retained this wonderful ability to sing in her upper register like a light lyric. And she doesn't have a problem tiptoeing in her top. The top comes, in my estimation, very easily, and while still being beautiful. And she had as she said, the breadth and the heft to fill out a line like a Verdian, while still retaining all of her beauty. She can lean into a phrase and sing it with all the weight that's necessary for those climactic moments without losing any of the inherent beauty of her voice.
Thank you, Kevin.
There are challenges, of course, in the Kevin's part, as you are singing both Porgy, but also Sporting Life, which is a much higher part.
And Jake.
Do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Well, I begin with Jake,
Yeah.
but that's not necessarily a challenge because it's a baritone
Yeah.
role and you have Fs. Um, yes, obviously, Sporting Life is a tenor, and so you have to deal with a tessitura, and which is one of the reasons that this suite you find a lot of baritones singing this, and basses and bass baritones find the tessitura of Sporting Life to be problematic. I can sing them in key. I'm one of, I think, a few basses or baritones that can handle the tessitura and can sing without too much difficulty. Yeah, the problem really is that with only two singers, you're singing back to back to back oftentimes. And that, to me, is the biggest challenge, not having enough rest between some of the numbers.
Mm.
Yeah, that big opera condensed into 30 minutes, right? It's like your multivitamin of Porgy and Bess. Kevin, you are also the one that brought to my attention bringing the Carter Legacy Singers. And they are very interesting chorus because they are mostly based in Maryland, but also they have singers a little bit all over the East Coast and bring them for various concerts to different places. Do you want to tell us a bit about their vocal prowess, which is always so impressive?
Well, the name says it all. These are primarily graduates of Morgan State University that sang under the tutelage of Dr. Nathan Carter. And these graduates got together, and what makes them fantastic is the level of discipline and the work ethic that they learned under the wonderful Nathan Carter. So you have this gorgeous sounding chorus, very mature now, no longer college kids. And I think they're one of the finer choruses in the country, actually.
Yeah, I would really tend to agree. I think that there's so much talent coming out of Morgan State University, and of course Dr. Eric Conway has taken over and doing a beautiful job there now too. And but this year I brought the Carter Legacy Singers to a concert at Carnegie Hall, and when they were warming up on stage, I saw some of the concert staff, people that were like artistic administrators of that concert, were tearing up while listening to them warm up. So that was like really like what the audience is ready for is you two wonderful singers and a splendid chorus as well. So this is definitely going to be recorded. I think it's going to be an historic Porgy and Bess with between Kevin Short and Marsha Thompson and Carter Legacy Singers. It's definitely going to be one for the books, and I can't wait to see you both. And so grateful that you both were available and decided to join us. And I can't wait. So thank you so much for joining me now. And I wish our audience all the best and look forward to seeing you all at the concert.
Thank you.
Thank
Have
you.
a wonderful weekend.
Be safe.
You too.
Bye-bye. Bye, Kevin.